Hello, everybody. Thank you, Malik. Thank you, LisboaUX, for having me. I'm very excited to be able to talk about this project. This was a project that was on the making on the previous company that I was, called Maze. If you are, well, let's put some energy on the room. First, who is a designer or a UX research? All right, good, good. Who's an engineer or a software developer? All right. So it's a mix. I will say that the engineers, if you want more details about the things that I'm going to say at the end, come to me. I'm more than glad to do a deep dive, but this is more tuned for the first part of the audience. But yeah, that being said, I'm going to walk you through a little bit what I'm going to say here today. I'm going to give a small intro so you understand where I'm coming from and my past experience. I'll talk deeply about Maze because it's a company where this project was made. And also I'll go into what are moderated interviews and then introduce why AI made sense on this type of research. And I'll go into the gears that actually made this happen. So talking a little bit about myself, I feel like a dinosaur, 15 years in the industry. I've been in many different shapes and forms of companies. Back in 2010, right after the university, I joined a big consultancy firm in Etum, and afterwards I went to a cybersecurity company. Both were project-based, so a lot of different projects, a lot of fun trying to build them, a lot of greenfield, and a lot of guessing. A lot of peoples and stakeholders that actually had ideas that without much research or without much certainty, we went into an MVP kind of phase to try to actually then procure feedback after we had something graspable to show. In Portuguese, I think this era in my life was called the achómetro. We actually thought that we had something and we went with it. Quite a contrast with my next experience. I went to Typeform in Barcelona. It's a form builder. You probably answered forms like this. It's a company that is very focused on design. So you probably answered a few forms of them without even realizing. And something was very different at Typeform. Typeform, since it had this design, but also scale, like there we had like around 150K paying customers actually. So around 40 million a week responses that we were collecting. The scale here was immense. So, and also the financial impact of actually putting something wrong in production or building the wrong thing. What we did was try to compartmentalize beyond research, which was done to some extent, compartmentalize all the features that we could and actually A/B test them. So as a scientist trying to put something out and seeing what kind of effect would we have from this feature compared to control that was the feature not existing or the improvement not existing. So we could actually quantify the impact of the things that we were building. Then I went to Maze a few years afterwards, and it actually transformed a lot of how I see product building. So Maze, I'll go deeper about what it is, but it's a research platform. So as a UX or a designer, if you didn't hear about it after this, I hope you go and see it because it's a pretty awesome tool to support your work. And you can literally do a lot of research, you can understand the user. And I think we did that while before implementing anything, while implementing something, and also after implementing something. And what this build was a lot of empathy as an engineer to the people that I was building something for. And that serves as a catapult for purpose. And I really think that that's a key ingredient to actually do our best work. Now I'm at Amazon, a place that is famous for its customer obsession. It actually puts all of these practices at scale in every step of the way. An anecdote to that is that we are supposed to have an empty chair on every meeting that should represent our client. And we should ask ourselves, what would that client actually decide if he was here in this meeting? It actually lives and breathes all of that, from core values to implementations of processes. Why take you through this journey? Not just because for you to understand my background, but because I also think that this actually mimics the different stages of product building of companies. You go through these phases as you mature as a company. That being said, let's go deeper to Maze. Again, this is where most of my talk took shape and the project of a researcher, an AI researcher, came to play. So Maze, if we have to define it, the mission in one phrase, very simple one, what it wants is to help teams learn fast and build better products. Like this is what they aim. And they do that by like trying to get insights as fast as possible. I don't know how many of you actually had those aha moments. Like I can give you a great example that I had in my career. One that have many, fortunately, but the earlier, the better. And that's what Maze is trying. We're building, this was a type form actually, we're building a way to export results. So you collected a lot of forms and you wanted to export it to an Excel file or a CSV. So we built it, a lot of backend work, a lot of UI to actually make it polished. We're super proud and we put a lot of investment on it. Metrics were not adding up to our own hype about the feature. And we're asking why. Then we went to actually go through the clients, for our clients, and 3 or 4 user interviews after was not simple to anybody but us. So it was actually not well designed from the start. So that aha moment, that mental model that was broken was late on the journey. Imagine if we had this from the beginning, the time that we would save. That's what Maze's value proposition is at its best, is to actually enable those aha moments as early as possible. How Maze actually empowers that to happen? Through surveys, like you can build your own survey, your own form with different types of specific blocks that can go from multiple thematics, that can actually gauge sentiment as well. Use a lot of AI on top of it to actually understand a little bit the ins and outs of the answers that we get. Another very famous area that Maze has been successful is in prototype testing. So imagine that you're a designer, you put the prototype out, and you want actually people to try it out, give feedback. You can embed these prototypes on surveys and actually put that at scale and collect answers. On top of that, you can give missions. Imagine you have a checkout, you can literally say, hey, try to buy these pair of shoes. And you can actually see how many people actually reach that end state of your prototype, and thus having a good sense of how well you actually fabricated this. And this is for the later stage. We also have website testing, mobile testing, like after you develop something, for you to get feedback on what you have, this is a good way to actually continuously get that feedback coming in. Another offer that I think it's stellar at Maze's value proposition is the ability to actually get people, the right audience, your persona, in front of your research. So you can go into the platform, you can say, hey, I'm looking for people that wear glasses. This will make sense in a little bit. Or from Germany, and you can just go in, put these characteristics. There's millions of people waiting to answer actually your survey. So pretty powerful. But the one that will center the most, the tool that researchers also like a lot, is moderated interviews. And we'll go deep dive on that. So moderated interviews, conceptually, they're very simple. It's a conversation moderated by a researcher. The intention here is to uncover motivations, behaviors, and mental models, but it also is about nuance. It's about feelings. It's about that stop on the sentence and your curiosity as an interviewer to pursue what is hidden on that person's mind. And so it's a really powerful tool that I don't think anything can substitute that. How did Maze try to enter into this realm? Was actually a team that we were managing, and the intention was to actually build a toolbox that had all things that you would need as a researcher to actually conduct these interviews. From actually recruiting the participants, as I mentioned before, to schedule the interviews. You probably used Calendly or something of this sort where you can actually book meetings between people. You can do that on the platform. You can also have the interview itself on the platform. Your person that you're doing the research upon doesn't have to install any agents. There's no complications. It's just going to the Maze web app, opening up, and it will be there. It will be recorded to the cloud. And also speed up the analysis. That's the most time-consuming part of it. It's going through all of the transcripts, trying to understand, make sense of what the thematics. We power that with AI. And finally, being able to share that and socialize those learnings, those aha moments, with the rest of your company, so that you can collaborate on what's the next step of what you want to build. So I went already through some of the pros when I was saying what these interviews are good for, but there's also some cons, right? It can be very time-consuming. You cannot scale an interviewer. You'll have to be there. You'll have to do the interview, typically 30, 45 minutes. versus how many people you want to interview. You can have more interviewers, but there's also another thing there that is bias, right? We all have it. You cannot be unbiased. You all have this in you, so you have to train yourself, but still something will linger there. Another one is analyzing this. Again, most time-consuming thing that we have. And also, it depends on the interview skills, right? You can have different grades of good interviews, bad interviews. So different problems. How did we approach this at Maze? How could we actually look at these cons and try to capitalize on a solution that could drive that aha moment faster? That's where moderated AI interviewer came in. So this started, I don't know if you remember this image and this video and this demo from OpenAI back in May 2024. So they actually demoed their models actually having a natural and fluid conversation with humans. They were sitting at this table, they were talking to their phones, and they were actually having a conversation. This was when, at Maze, we actually had the realization. Before that, we did a lot of explorations, tried to prototype a lot of different things, see what the technology was limiting us or not. But here, we actually saw, this is the moment. Technology is here, let's try something out and make this happen. And we try to work backwards from our users. So what would our researchers want from this kind of tool? And putting ourselves on their shoes, what I as a researcher would need AI moderated to have, first, would be something that I need to trust. Second, it needs to be capable, it needs to be handling what it needs to. It needs to be fast. Going deeper, what does trust mean on this context? First, to be trustful, we had to build, right now we're in 2025, we're talking much more about context engineering rather than prompt engineering. This is the first thing that we had to nail, is to actually enable the researchers to input all the context needed to actually have these meaningful conversations so that the model knew what it was. It's things like, what are the company? What are the goals? Actually hand-holding them through structuring what they want to learn in ways that can support the model to actually navigate these conversations. The second one was transparency and traceability. Like, you cannot have magic here. You have to empower the researcher to go through all the interviews that were automated, done by the AI, and actually review them, be able to see, be able to analyze, be able to also contact the people so they can go deeper dive. So this was a mantra that was quite embedded on what we wanted to do. Also, we wanted it to be capable. And this, I'll explain a little bit later on the slides how we achieve that. But one thing that we wanted to be able to do is to continuously evaluate how our improvements to the prompt and to the model were actually giving results. That took a lot of observability, a lot of iterations through the prompt, and a lot of monitoring on how that scaled throughout time. We also used synthetic participants to actually build the scale. So AI training AI and helping us move it further and further. And fast. So we wanted to eliminate research bottlenecks. All the things that I mentioned before, the cons, we went one by one trying to actually understand how can we accelerate, how can we make that aha moment happen as soon as possible. And also not creating something secluded, apart, something that is on all of your tools that you have to do research. This is one more tool to that. It's not supposed to remove moderated interviews in its essence. It's not supposed to remove surveys. It's just another tool that you can operate with. So I mentioned glasses. It's not casualty. Right now at Amazon, what I'm doing is I'm leading one of the teams that are actually venturing into a new category in Germany. So Amazon doesn't sell prescription glasses. It's right now starting its journey there in Germany. And so it's a new category with a lot of challenges in a market that is very difficult to do online, like characteristics. And I see some people that have glasses, you probably resonate with this. It's not an easy category to shop online unless you know exactly what you're going for. So understanding what are the market limitations and what people are thinking about and what they value about this purchase experience is particularly important. And so we put the moderated interviewer to a test. So what I'm going to show here is the moderated in action, interviewing me mimicking somebody that would be a glass wearer. I actually will show after something a little bit more about the platform itself, but I hope you all can hear well.
Hi there.
All right.
Thanks for joining this conversation. Today we'll be exploring your thoughts and experiences around buying prescription glasses online, particularly in the context of how people in Germany approach this process. Are you ready to get started?
Yes, I am.
Great, let's begin. I appreciate you taking the time to share your insights with me today. To start, could you tell me a bit about the last time you bought prescription glasses?
Was about a month ago. I'm lying.
Where did you purchase those glasses? In a physical store or online?
In the physical store.
What made you choose to buy your glasses in a physical store rather than online?
Uh, just thought it would be better. Like I like to try on the glasses. Also have a little bit of sense of how they fit my face, and online that's very difficult. And the risk is high. Like typically these set of glasses are expensive when you put the lenses, and if you buy good frames, like it's quite an expensive purchase. And yeah, the risk is quite high in terms of if you don't like it, what exactly are you going to do with it?
Got it. When you say the risk is high, what specific concerns do you have about buying glasses online?
Yeah, I think if I'm able to return it or not, and yeah, not being able to try them is a concern. It's something that is quite difficult to grasp. Right. I'm like how much walking it here. Will be there's more to my see. Face. If you want to explore more, I'll share the slides and the video. You can see it. What I wanted with this demo is just give you a sense. This was a fluid conversation. This was a contextual conversation where he was jumping back and forth. I tried to give short answers to see if he would develop still. Challenges that an interviewer will have, and then skill to actually go deeper. There's a lot, there's a whole dimension of the prompt engineering that went into this, that with the time constraints that I have, I cannot go, but I hope this painted a little bit of picture. The next demo that I want to show you is actually what you see as a researcher after all of these interviews are conducted. How do you actually digest this data? And it's a small demo as well. Hey, so this is Maze platform. This is where all the sessions of all the participants that answered the moderated AI come. You probably saw me before. You can literally see
Hi there.
who's being recorded.
Thanks for joining this conversation. Today we'll be exploring your thoughts and experiences around buying prescription glasses online.
You can literally go and see it all. You can navigate the whole transcript, go to specific areas. You can also see a summary of the section. You can also go to the highlights. They are generated via AI, and you can add themes to it. Like these are already pre-populated themes. You can go and actually see that specific call and so on. You can also add your own highlights. It's pretty powerful. And then the themes are all aggregated. You can also do it automatically, but it's pretty cool. It generates really good thematics. For instance, on this use case, the physical try-on remains essential barrier. You can see multiple participants actually calling that out. And you can go through all of them trying to explain the reasoning behind it. On the other hand, price and selection convenience drive online appeal. You can also see very many anecdotes of people saying that. And yeah, it also creates you a nice report you can share with your stakeholders. One thing that I didn't mention was you saw many other participants there. This was a panel order that I put over the weekend, and I literally did 5 clicks to actually, conducted the interview study, the goals, and I set all of that up, more or less aligned with the context that I provide you. But then all the interviews were conducted automatically. I had these clusters of thematics done automatically. The time to actually go deeper and analyze was nothing. So yeah, how did we achieve? This is on the engineering front, the gears behind this moderated AI. So the core requirements that we had to define this was that we needed a natural conversation flow, so no delays. no latency there that could feel awkward or more awkward than talking to an AI agent is already there. Retaining the context of previous answers and maintaining a structured conversation was also a requirement. And the ability to evaluate our conversations to maintain and improve the prompt quality was definitely something that was non-negotiable. How did we achieve this? We iterated multiple things. There's Vibe, there's many tools there that you can experiment with, but where we landed was with PipeCat, which it's an open source framework, super powerful and very interesting for you to iterate through. What it gives you is a kind of a loop that can actually enable you. I wish this image was better, but again, I'll share my slides so you can see. This is also on their documentation that gives you a loop between the end user's voice that is captured. You can then grab that recording and actually use a service, whatever service you want. This is very encapsulated, to actually translate that to text, then feed to a model, whatever model you want is encapsulated, so you can iterate with different models. We iterate for as many as there were in the time, and then translate that text back to speech with some technology that you want. In our case, we used DeepGram to do the speech to text. We used as an LLM OpenAI with FreePlay as a tool that is something that I'll elaborate what it is. And to do the text back to speech, we used actually Azure. These were iterations and iterations over the tools to see that which one actually worked better. And this framework is amazing because it lets you do that without having to scrap everything that you've done before or locking you into a specific environment.
This is what you use to do the tool?
Yeah, the moderated AI. The engine itself that was talking right there. So I mentioned FreePlay, and this is probably the biggest thing for prompt engineering that you might want to take with you. This is a tool that is pretty comprehensive. It helps you build, test, and learn from your prompts. You actually write the prompts on the platform and you connect it to your services, and it actually tracks the responses. It detects a lot of different things. So you can actually do the prompt iteration through this tool. So it's not via Git or GitLab where you actually commit those prompts. You can actually empower expertise to come in and iterate on the prompt. So at Maze case, our PMs are amazing interviewers. Our designers and UX researchers are amazing interviewers. So the feedback loop to actually improving these prompts, if we put them on the scenario, iterating on it, was super valuable to achieve. And this enables that. Feature flags also helped us deploy these changes, these different variations of prompts, and test it with limited traffic so that we could see the amount of hallucinations or not, or the consistency of the models and so on. The detection and monitoring of those hallucinations is also something baked in. We know that these can be unpredictable, but we actually have guardrails to actually try to detect that, try to manage and so on. It's a qualitative conversation. So hallucinations here are not, this is not a deterministic service that will crash a plane if it actually says something or claims something. It's a natural conversation that can adjust to that. So it's not critical to actually try to handle with that. Nonetheless, we are attentive to any kind of deficit and try to improve and iterate on that. And the evals, they're kind of tests to the outputs of the prompts. Like when you write integration tests or unit tests, it's kind of similar for you to understand if the output of the specific model or prompt iteration that you're doing is consistent with the quality that you want to make. All of that possible with FreePlay in a really nice way. So super advice to do that. And a very important chapter on the engineering of all of this was observability and monitoring. Like FreePlay gave a lot of context and feedback about the hallucinations and the quality of our models and how we were using it and our prompts. We also use Datadog extensively. Datadog is an observability platform, so you can send different data to it, different metrics, and you aggregate it, and you actually create alarms or alarmistics, so you actually can track latency, you can track time to speech, which is a new metric that now you need to understand how it oscillates within the tool sets that you're using, and many other metrics important. And also important was to convert this into something that humans can understand and rationale. A lot of metrics is difficult to navigate, so we actually used OpenAI tasks to actually put into Slack, which is our kind of means of communication within the company, to say a summary of the day of how many hallucinations there were, if there's any particular case that you want to go in, so that we can make our engineers react rapidly to some abnormalities. So to wrap up, I gave you a little bit of a glimpse of what journey this was. What I want to end up is that we didn't build this with the intent of actually removing the researcher or the interviewer from this. This is actually a tool to actually get you closer to that aha moments, to get you closer to the people that you want to interview the most, to get you closer to an aggregated people, to get you closer to people that you have language barriers or time zone differences to talk to. There's very specific cases, and it's really a catalyzer to actually drive that. And if you can, try to leverage it and try to make these wow moments so that you can build products that are aligned with your clients' needs. And yeah, thank you very much. There's a QR code here. This is literally a moderated AI that you can try. The HIT's goal is actually to evaluate me as my performance as a presenter. So be candid, actually talk to him, give me feedback, I'll collect it and be able to digest that. And beyond that, thank you very much for your attention.